Today I'm going to be trying to spray foam the inside of this greenhouse. There's a couple of areas I want to insulate. This wall here and the roof and the wall over there. I'm going to be using this spray foam kit. I've got a couple challenges today. One, if you notice, is the valve on this tank compared to that one is totally smashed and broken off, so I'll have to deal with that. The other one is that it's snowing today. Actually, the snow has turned into rain right now. You can see the top of the greenhouse is covered with ice. This is very temperature critical. The chemical needs to be warmed up to at least 70 degrees. So I've got my turkey fryer out. I'm warming up some water to use. Hopefully I'll be able to get the temperature up to at least 70. I'm planning to soak the tanks in this Rubbermaid container with some warm water. So we'll see how this goes. So to deal with this valve, my plan is to take this screwdriver, heat it up nice and red, and then stick it down in there and melt a slot so that I can turn that valve and open it up. So I might as well steal some heat off my turkey fryer. Get this warmed up and then we'll see if it'll melt. Just to show you the conditions on top of the greenhouse, let me walk outside. There's actually probably 6 inches of ice on top of the roof where I want to spray. You can't really see it. Well, there you go. So that metal's nice and cold, and we'll have to probably put a flash coat on it to warm that up before we can put a thick coat on it. So I've got the screwdriver pretty hot. I think it's probably good enough. I've got the 2 tanks starting to warm up a little bit. I'm going to take this and see if I can't make a little spot here. I don't want to push it too far, but just enough to be able to turn it out. So I've made a little indentation. I should be able to use that to thread it back out. Okay, so I've got the hoses connected. About to open that valve, make sure that works. Just want to mention safety equipment. It's a good idea to wear a respirator, goggles. I've got neoprene gloves on as well. Let me just open this valve real fast just to make sure what we did is going to work here. I'll take the screwdriver, I'll put it in there, open it slowly, and you should see foam release. There it goes. It's kind of orange colored. You want to turn this all the way out. It'll stop. So that actually worked pretty well, sticking the screwdriver down in there like that. This one I can just turn the valve open up. So there's foam in both the lines. You can see it filled up most of the way. Once I pull the trigger on that gun, it's going to let out the rest of that air. There's little nozzles that come with it. These will snap on the end, and then the foam actually mixes. There's a static mixer inside of there. So it comes out of 2 ports on the end of this gun. You can see there, and it mixes in the nozzle. I'm going to try to film a little bit of spraying. It's kind of hard to do it myself, but we'll give it a shot. So it comes with petroleum jelly, and you're supposed to just stick that right in the end there and smear it around really good. Just get a real thick glob of it. Sorry, it's kind of blurry, but that'll help seal up the end of that and keep the foam from sticking to the face of this gun. And then these nozzles, see if I can do that. It clicks in the bottom under the lip and then snaps in place. I'm going to do a little test shot here in this bucket or this box just to make sure things are working as expected. That's actually looking pretty good. It'll be tack free in about 30 seconds, but I'm going to go ahead and give this a shot on the wall. This is really hard to make it look good while holding the camera in one hand. So I'm going to do one more shot here and then put the camera down. See if I can't make it look a little better. So whenever you stop for more than 30 seconds, the foam will harden up in that nozzle. You have to take that off and put another one on. So make sure my ports are cleaned off. So I realized something there after I finished spraying. Fomo's got what they call ColorWise nozzles, which means the nozzle turns blue if it's too cold. So this is a nozzle. It's blue because it's about 45 degrees in here right now. But let me show you what happens when it warms up. So I'll take it over to this water that's been warming on the turkey fryer. Let me just dip it in. So that nozzle turns clear when it gets above 65, 70 degrees. So this is a technology that's only available from Handy Foam. It helps a lot when you're trying to spray in colder weather, just to make sure that your chemical's not too cold. So this right here is the foam I sprayed. It was slightly too cold. The foam is a little bit wider than it should be, and it's slightly spongy, so it never set completely, and that's because it's B rich, which means it has more B chemical than it had A chemical. And that was a factor of the temperature being a little cooler than it ought to have been. So we're going to keep warming it up and give it another shot. Well, what a difference a couple weeks makes. If you don't like the weather here in Texas, just wait a few days and it'll change. It's 105 degrees in here right now. It's 70 outside. I put the shade cloth up to try to cool it down. Also installed a solar fan up here, which is pulling a lot of the heat out. I'll be installing a bunch of vents along this top and the bottom of the wall to help cool it off some more. But I wanted to get back to spraying the foam. So to set this up, I've got the valves open already. I've shaken the kits really well. The first step is to check and ensure that foam is coming out of both sides of the gun. So I've got pretty close to an even stream coming out of the two. I'll put a nozzle on here and shoot a little test shot on this cardboard just to make sure that everything is working properly. So I put the nozzle on. I'm going to spray just a little bit, make sure that it looks good. See if it expands and hardens. It's spraying a lot more consistent now than it did when it was really cold. I think this is going to make some really good foam right now. Looks like it's expanding a little bit better than it did before. I'll do the tack free test and see if it's tack free within about a minute. Yeah, it's tack free. It's behaving a lot better than it did when it was really cold. So the temperature really is important. So one thing I've learned in talking to a few people, if you have a consistent mixture, it's going to flow evenly across the spread of the foam. If you look here, I don't know if you can really tell or not, but it's pretty consistent as far as the thickness goes. Before I was getting a lot more on the edges, which is an indication that you've got a B-rich foam. So this looks really good. I'm going to go ahead and spray the walls here. I've already put a new nozzle on, so we're ready to go. See if I can film this. Yeah, that's expanding a lot better than it did before. Probably putting it on a little too thick. It's going to be three inches or so. So here's the foam after it's set up. It really is pretty hard now. That's kind of more what I expected last time. Here's the foam that I've just finished spraying. It's also gotten pretty hard. It's expanded quite a bit more than it did last time when it was cold. So the temperature really is important.